Hello again and welcome back to Legally Cited. This is Jesse and I am back to chat a little bit about some other recent gaming events that we've had over the last couple of days. I know I just did a channel update and topic video earlier this week, but there has been even more happenings in games the last couple of days and wanted to give my thoughts on that. And I didn't even know that one of them was going to be a thing. We had a Nintendo Direct yesterday, and I didn't even know that was going to be a thing when I recorded that video. So, yeah, things are busy as usual. Before I do go any further and talk about these events and upcoming games, I do want to quickly apologize for the attempt at doing this video yesterday. I was going to release this as a bonus video for Friday. Right after the events happened, it was fresh in my mind. And so I recorded this video, or I take one of this video, and I just, recorded it, thought it was probably okay, uploaded it, boom, we're good. And I got a couple of comments right away, like, hey, I love your comment, or I love your content, but your microphone is really jacked in these. And I got a few comments, and I looked at it and went, oh dear God, yeah, I totally apologize. I'm still trying to troubleshoot. I don't know exactly what it is that sometimes gives my headset problems. Like, it wasn't a thing for the longest time. Like, maybe it would occasionally cut out, but for the most part, it was fine. And I have a couple of theories. Like, I know if it gets too close to other electronics, especially my phone, if I get it too close, it'll cut out. And I don't know, like, it's a weird thing. You wouldn't think it would matter, but who knows? I recently got a thumb drive that I plug into my tower, and it's a metal thumb drive. It's kind of cool actually because it's got ports on both ends. One end it's a USB-C, and then on the other end it's just your typical USB-A port, so I can plug it into pretty much any computer I want. You know, a lot of these new computers just have USB-C ports on them, and you just literally, it's got this little metal kajigger that you just kind of flip from one side to the other to cover up one end or the other, and it works great. But I swear when I have that thumb drive in, it sits close to my little receiver, my little wireless dongle for my headset, and it must be causing all sorts of havoc there. So I have no idea. I'm still trying things. Bear with me. I totally apologize. But this is sort of a take two for yesterday's video. There are a few other things that I want to quickly, talk about and everything. But yeah, so let's try this again and pretend that yesterday's unfortunate video never happened. Anyway, I know I did one of these update videos just the other day, but we had a lot of stuff going on. Before I go into the game events themselves, I wanted to touch on a couple of things. I know it's only been a couple of days, but I haven't heard anything like comments or anything like that. In the previous update video, I had talked a little bit about changing to either Wednesdays and Saturdays, and cutting out Monday videos as a possibility just because I have so much other going on. And my other idea was to maybe do some shorter videos on Mondays, just because it would make life easier on me, and I think it would actually help the viewers out a lot. I have a couple of playlists that I haven't devoted much time to for quite a while, like the tips, tricks, and troubleshooting one especially. And if people would be interested in that type of content, like this isn't going to be I'm not going to teach people from scratch how to use their iPhone or how to use their screen reader. But if there's like a Windows tip, a cool iOS tip, voiceover, screen reader, magnifier tip, there's little things, like I said, even on social media, I'll see little things of like, hey, I didn't know you could do this. I've been using a computer for 20 years. And I'm like, funny you should mention that because I didn't even know you could do that. And so there's been a few of those even over the last couple of years where I didn't know those things. And so I thought, let's do that kind of content moving forward. These could be quick 5-minute videos or something. So let me know if you're interested in that and if you have any, kind of hidden tech tips that you think might be interesting, or if you like that idea, please do let me know. Because again, I want to keep a backlog of videos so that I have things when I either like have technical problems or get sick or go on vacation, that type of thing. So you guys won't notice any difference. You'll just get videos on the normal days you're supposed to. So that is the one thing. The other channel related thing, and this part, I listened to that video yesterday and like, boy, that cut out horribly still. That's why I decided to delete that video. So the other thing that I really wanted to briefly mention is I I've never made this channel or my social media feeds. I've largely stayed away from politics. Um, I will do occasional rants, or I will talk about specific blindness, low vision, accessibility news, or hot topics because I think they're important. And I will still do that from time to time. But especially in today's climate where everyone is far extreme one way or another, you have the hardcore left, you have the hardcore right, and there's nothing down the middle anymore. Like, if you don't agree with me, you're my mortal enemy. This madness just has to stop. Our regime is not doing us any favors by lying constantly, ignoring things constantly, flat out blaming the other side constantly. It's kind of becoming a dangerous time. We're having like just shootings, school shootings, mass shootings, political shootings now. We literally had 2 people in Minnesota in June get shot. And then, of course, the Charlie Kirk thing that happened the other day. It's getting rough out there. But the reason I bring that up is because, it's hard to avoid it. And, whether you're on social media, YouTube, or in real life, whatever it is, what I really want to say is, like I said, I will still cover disability related, blindness, low vision, accessibility related content when I need to, because I think it's important. But I'm still going to I'm going to try to, stay away from all of this other mainstream politics stuff. Like, I know, like, it's so frustrating, no matter what side you're on, I guess, but like, it's so frustrating constantly. You're seeing everything constantly. The news is a sham in general. But like, I don't, that's not what I want my channel to be. That's not what I want my YouTube feed to be. That's not what I want my Blue Sky or Twitter feed to be. I have left some comments or replies to people, especially on Twitter. That's where I'm most engaged. For both sides. Responding to people both sides. But like, I just don't want really any part of that. Now, I would still encourage people, again, especially if we want to get out of this mess we're in as a country, as a world, I think it's still important to pay attention to everything that's happening because there's a lot of crazy, creepy stuff potentially happening with disability and accessibility and disability rights that could go south any moment here. and just rights in general for people, whether that's, the vaccines, whether that's immigration, whether that's whatever, medical, like I said, vaccines and stuff. It's important to pay attention, but I would highly encourage people, pay attention so you know the general bits of what's actually going on. But I would also say don't live on social media. Don't doom scroll constantly, because that's what they want you to do. That's what they want, the constant engagement. And unfortunately, negativity and controversy and conflict sell. Um, and if you get caught up in it, you're just going to be miserable. And so basically, what I'm trying to say is that, really going forward, I'm just not even going to, as much as I may want to, I really want to reply to this person. I'm not going to be talking your Democrat, Republican, left, right, center, whatever. I'm not going to be talking about really any of that garbage on the channel or on my social media feed. I want my Twitter feed, I want my Blue Sky feed to be games, tech, accessibility, blindness, assistive technology, games, nerdy stuff, movies and TV, music, give me cat videos, uh, you know, just partly because, hey, that's what I like, and partly because, I want to escape this dystopian hellscape that we're kind of finding ourselves going into lately. So just to, kind of let people know that I'm going to try to really avoid that type of thing going forward on my feed and just not engage with it. I may read it, it may come up in my feed, but I'm just going to do my damnedest no matter the temptation to, you know, the temptation to engage with it because it's not going to make, it's not going to do anything except annoy and anger me. So I want Illegally Cited to be a fun, positive, entertaining, and helpful place for people to be. Be that on the social media, be that on the channel, streams if I ever go that route again, whatever. So, what I will say, again, try not to doom scroll, try not to um, be obsessed with it like many people are these days. Still stay informed, and if you do want to make change, the best thing you can possibly do is, as I said, stay informed, follow it to some degree so you actually know what's being, happen. Check your multiple sources and whatnot. But when it comes to next year, 2026, and the elections, you got your midterm elections, your primary elections in a couple of in 2028. Use your right to vote. If you don't like what's happening right now, get out there and vote, because you have, I think that's what happened last time is we had a lot of people vote one way, not enough people voted the other way. Even if you don't like the alternative, you have to choose the lesser of two evils, whatever. And then a lot of people just didn't vote, period. So there were a lot of, I think, non-voters. And so that's how we came to be in the situation that we are. And I know a lot of people are pissed, just, rightfully so with everything that's happening. But like I said, stay informed, but don't stay obsessed. And dear God, exercise your right to vote when it counts next year in 2026 and in 2028 and moving forward, because that's the right we have in a democracy. We can hopefully try to make the change and keep things, see if we can recover this thing in the future. So that's all I'm going to say about politics. Um, Lord knows it would be easy to say other things and actually give my opinions in more detail. But again, that's not what this channel, that's not what Illegally Cited is. And I don't ever want to be in a position to be like, oh, I don't want to, get really mad at something and say something I'm going to regret, especially publicly. As you well know, the internet never forgets. Once it's online, it's online. So whether that's audio, video, text, whatever it is. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of, encourage people to engage with voting and just try to do your best. I mean, I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing. I'm going to do my day job. I'm going to do all my consulting work, my advocacy work, the YouTube channel, and all the other fun things that I love to do. I'm going to help people. I'm going to enjoy life and just keep doing what I'm doing and, try to make change where I can, whether that's voting or just helping my neighbor or doing a good job at work, whatever it is. So, um, yeah, enough really about that. But that's, like I said, I just want to, I've been a little bit more like replying to like tweets and stuff the last, I don't know, month or so as things have gotten really strange, and I'm done with it. I'm done engaging with any of it. So, moving along to the fun stuff, we had 3 events, believe it or not, in the last few days. We first had the Acclaim event. Now, for the youngins who maybe do not know who Acclaim is, Acclaim, I don't even fully know, like, it's a weird history, but like, back in the day, in the 8-bit days, there was this company named LJN. If you watch the Angry Video Game Nerd series, you know all about LJN. But they would make these, like they were this publisher that would hire all these developers. They would get licensed to popular like movies and TV shows and just intellectual properties in general. And they would just have developers shat out like whatever game they could. I mean, they had, like I said, everything from movie licenses, TV shows, I don't know, books, whatever it was, movies. And a lot of it was garbage. I remember the Simpsons games back in the day, like Bart versus the Space Mutants, Bart versus the World. They were terrible. Like, I love the Simpsons, I love Nintendo. And I remember renting the Bart versus the Space Mutants, playing it a couple times, and like, this is, even back then I knew as a kid, I'm like, this is kind of terrible. My friend borrowed a copy of Bart versus the World. It had very similar mechanics and controls and stuff like that, and it was terrible. It was terrible. At least I didn't enjoy it. We didn't enjoy it. Um, and then so LJN and then Acclaim got hooked up with them at some point. The main thing that I remember Acclaim more from the 16-bit, maybe the 64, 32-bit era. They did a lot of wrestling games, and some of those were actually pretty good. But they did, like, I remember they handled, like, the Super Nintendo port of Smash TV. That was actually really good. They handled the Mortal Kombat games, at least on the Super Nintendo. I don't know if they did the Genesis or not. I don't remember. But they worked with Midway on, the Mortal Kombat series. I remember the code, I think it was on Mortal Kombat 2, LRB and start. You hold it down when you power it on, and Goro comes and beats the crap out of the Acclaim logo. That was pretty cool. And then they like went under, and then they got resurrected or something at some point and turned into something totally different and weird. And then they went under again or went away again. And now they're trying to kind of come back as like this indie developer, maybe, kind of like your Devolver Digital or your other smaller game developer or game publisher. They had I must have been about like a 20 minute event or something the other day. And it was kind of about what I thought it would be. I didn't think that they would have licenses to, bring back some of the stuff that they did back in the day. Like, it would be interesting. I don't know if they could get or if they have the Simpsons license, but like I said, the old NES games and those are bad. But I wish whoever has the Simpsons license, I would love to see a collection of good Simpsons games. We're always doing these remasters and collections. I would love to see. There were like 3 games in the GameCube, Xbox era, PS2 era, and I think some of them were 360 even. Um, you had Simpsons Road Rage, which was a Simpsons themed Crazy Taxi game. It was actually pretty fun. I rather enjoyed it. Um, I got a kick out of that. I remember renting the GameCube version. And then there was Simpsons Hit and Run, which is kind of a GTA light kind of a thing. Um, I remember playing that a bit. My friend and former roommate got into that quite a bit, got further than I did. And then there was the Simpsons game. That one wasn't too bad either. That was sort of a open world. Or no, that one wasn't really open world. I think it had levels, but you played as the different family characters and stuff. But I would say those 3 Simpsons games were not bad. And ultimately, along with those 3 in that collection, what they really should do is they should put the Simpsons arcade game in that we have never really had on a console before. We had it on Xbox Live Arcade for a short time, but then it got delisted pretty quickly. I still have it on my Xbox 360 hard drive, but I can't play it anywhere else. And I would, again, just it's a classic preservation. That thing was everywhere. If there were arcade games in the early 90s, you would see that everywhere. You would either have the TMNT arcade game, or you would have the Simpsons arcade game, or you might have both. I remember seeing the Simpsons arcade everywhere. And it was a fun game. Repetitive, but fun. Your classic beat 'em up style. But I would love to see those again. Um, so, Acclaim, I would love to see that if they could get that license going forward, or if they still have it. I don't know. But it was like I said, about 20 minutes or so. They had a variety of different types of indie games. There was a couple of like 2D side scroller type of. I don't know if they were more like Metroidvania search action kind of games. There was kind of a weird little puzzle, like a rhythm puzzle kind of game, which I didn't quite totally understand what was going on, but it looked sort of interesting. There was kind of a neat game. I don't remember what it was called, but I did wishlist it on Steam. It's kind of like an SSX snowboarding type of game. Seemed like really colorful and arcadey, and I don't know. I kind of want to check it out when it comes out. But like I said, it was just nothing really stood out to me of like, oh, I gotta play that. But I mean, there were ones that looked decent. I think there's 1 or 2 games in there that they shadow dropped. I did wishlist one in case it goes on sale. I don't remember. Again, there's been so many game announcements, you guys, in the last like 3-4 days. I can't remember them all. I would have had to write everything down. But it's weird to see Acclaim back. Even like when Atari is trying to, they got a new owner for Atari, whatever the heck Atari is these days. They're trying to be kind of a retro game company again. Atari was doing some really weird stuff the last few years, like crypto, and like they were going to do like some hotel or something, and just bizarre stuff. Um, so I think some of these older companies are really trying to, kind of. I think people are starting to realize that if you want to get into games, do gaming stuff. You don't have to go into all kinds of other strange industries and be into crypto and you know, because all you're going to do is make gamers mad. I mean, we want games. They don't have to be AAA even. They don't have to be cutting edge graphics all the time. Smaller games are great. The creativity, I still play a lot of indie games. That's where I prefer to play most of my games these days. So that was Acclaim, and then I said I didn't even know we were going to have a Nintendo Direct when I recorded the video earlier this week, but we did, and we had our Nintendo Direct right away yesterday morning. It was about an hour long, and they had quite a few announcements. I would say nothing really jumped out for me as far as like, oh, I gotta have that day one. Um, there are games that I'm definitely intrigued about, and I will probably play or at least wait to see how the reviews turn out for them. So let's cruise through Nintendo's spiel a little bit. We started out, they had a big thing for Mario's 40th anniversary, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. Man, I feel old. Um, I, we just had the Donkey Kong Bonanza come out like a month or two ago, and that was a really cool thing. People were expecting the 3D Mario, like another Mario Odyssey or something, but it was the Mario Odyssey team that was working on that, so we're gonna have to wait a little bit longer for another Mario game. So there wasn't anything too like brand new or groundbreaking for the Mario anniversary, but we started out with the Mario Galaxy movie. We had the Super Mario Brothers movie a year or two ago. I didn't hate it as much as a lot of other people seem to. Like a lot of like adult Nintendo fans seem to just hate that movie for whatever reason. I mean, yes, it's a movie that is an animated movie that's designed for kids. Is it the most groundbreaking story? Absolutely not. There was a lot of like, oh, look at this reference. You remember this character? You remember this item? You remember this? Um, and the story was serviceable. Like, there were a couple parts that I chuckled with some of the characters and whatnot, but I didn't mind it. I thought like artistically, like, the characters were fine. It was really cool seeing the movie forms of, the characters, some of the environments, some of the items and things. It was neat. And, they're going to have Mario Galaxy as the theme for their second movie, which could be interesting. They could do a lot with that. Mario in space, you could do kind of anything. You're not limited to like Earth stuff. You can do all kinds of crazy stuff. We got a lot of the original cast coming back. Jack Black as Bowser, of course. He's pretty amusing, so that'll be interesting. That'll be kind of fun to see. And yeah, I mean, I will see it. I don't know that I'll go see it in theaters, but I will more than likely check it out when it comes to streaming or when it comes to digital purchase. They talked a little bit about their theme parks. We have the new one in Florida right now that opened up recently, which is cool, although I don't know that I really want to go to Florida these days with those wackos doing what they're doing. Again, avoiding politics, but if you know, you know. um, I do want to get to one of these Mario theme parks one of these days because I think it would be really neat to see the Mushroom Kingdom. And I would love to, I don't remember if they said they were doing like a Zelda. I would love to see a Hyrule of some kind in the future. I think they were talking about doing a Donkey Kong thing on one of them. But yeah, the Mushroom Kingdom and just all the characters and all the themed. It would just be a fun thing to see one time. But they talked about that. They talked about they're having like a marathon in Japan next year, and Nintendo's going to be affiliated with that. So that's sort of neat. And then they announced the Mario Galaxy 1 and 2. You can get them individually or as a set for the Switch and the Switch 2. The 3D collection that they released a few years ago, they had Mario Sunshine and Galaxy 1, but they only released it for like a limited time. They had it available and then they just like took it away for some stupid reason. I have no idea what that was about, but if you missed getting Galaxy the first time, you want to have that on your Switch or your Switch 2. Um, it's kind of expensive. It's like, what is it, like 30 or 40 bucks each? So it's a bit expensive. But I mean, these are many people's favorite Mario games. A lot of people love these games. I liked them and I thought they were really creative, but I remember like the Wii one, it was hard because they had they they had like this weird Wii controller thing where you had to like point and then grab and pull at certain things, and that part just wasn't accessible because I had to sit close to the screen. So I didn't get into Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 as much as I had wanted to. And sometimes the camera would pull out so far that it was also sort of hard to see and judge things. So I love the games in theory, but I did have a little bit of trouble playing them. And then continuing the Mario 40th theme, we had Mario Tennis Fever coming out next spring, the latest in that series. I actually really enjoy the Mario sports games from the ones I've played. I remember playing the Camelot, the Mario Golf games on the N64, and I think I even played the GameCube version. Kind of fell away after that, but those were pretty fun. I remember playing the N64 one in college quite a bit. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day about this Everybody's Golf that has just come out for modern platforms. And that's basically kind of an updated version of Hot Shots Golf, which was kind of the similar thing as the Mario Golf games. So when that goes on sale and I have time to play it, I will probably check that game out too on the channel because they're fun little games. They're arcade golf game. I learned more. Like I knew nothing about golf. Mario Golf, actually, between Mario Golf and I wouldn't say Happy Gilmore taught me a lot, but what I know about golf, I mostly learned from Mario Golf and a little bit from Happy Gilmore. So that's about it. They're going to have a lot of different modes, like arcade modes and versus, and they got a little story mode where they get the baby versions of the characters and you're like building them up over time. And so, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it could be a neat thing. The mechanics look kind of neat. They're having these different tennis rackets that have different powers, like shrinking the other person or giving you special abilities. Your typical Mario stuff, your power-up stuff. So that should be interesting. Then they had the Talking Flower collectible, which is kind of weird. You got the Mario Wonder from, what was it, last year or the year before? The 2D side-scrolling Mario that was kind of trippy in some ways. But they had these talking flowers in some of the levels, and they were weird. But I guess they're going to be releasing physical versions of those, and they're also going to be releasing like an updated Switch 2 version of Mario Wonder with some extra content and some extra multiplayer mini games and content, like coin battle and races and rhythm type platforming, and it looked interesting, but I don't know that I'll ever get a chance to really mess with that multiplayer stuff. I don't remember the name of it, but there was another Yoshi game announced for next spring as well, and this was another one that was geared more toward the younger audiences, which is fine. But it kind of had its own little storybook art style. I mean, the the design, the art style was actually really quite sharp. It was actually really quite good. But they've done things like that. They did the Yoshi's Woolly World. They did Kirby's Epic Yarn, and those games were adorable. Like they're very creative. Again, they're designed for younger players, but you can't deny that they had a really unique style. And that's what this seems to be. So I don't know. It may be worth checking out just to see like what they do with the presentation. Um, but boy, I don't know. Everything is like 60, 70, $80 now. It's like, ugh, I don't know that I want to spend that much on that game. There were several Pokemon updates and game announcements. We have Pokemon ZA, which again, I know nothing about Pokemon. I've tried a couple of the earlier games, I've seen a couple of the games, and I don't know if I was just too old for it, or the fact that I don't really like turn-based battles for the most part. I just never got into, I never cared about Pokemon, so it's just one of those series that have really passed me by. Like I'm generally vaguely familiar, of a few characters and things, but I couldn't tell you much of anything about Pokemon. But you got this ZA thing. Yeah, there's another game that almost seemed more like a chill, almost like an Animal Crossing meets Pokemon vibe thing where you're building a little village thing and they get Pokemon to move in and whatever. I don't really know what that was about, but you have that. So if you are a Pokemon fan, there are some games that are coming out that may be of interest to you. We have a lot of ports to the Switch 2, which is not necessarily a bad thing. There were games that just couldn't be ported to the Switch 1 because, I mean, it was old hardware when the Switch came out in 2017. But now we have the Switch 2, and we're getting a lot of ports of different things from older Nintendo consoles and other systems and PC. So, that's not a bad thing. And it'll also give developers a chance to get to know the hardware a little bit. I know there's been a lot of hubbub recently about they have, like, Nintendo seems to be oddly stingy about getting their development kits out to developers. And so a lot of people who maybe would have made Switch 2 games who want to haven't been able to really do so because they don't have the hardware or they don't know what to target for their specs and make sure things work for it and whatever. So I'm hoping that that opens up a little bit more and people can port, not just port things, but make new original content, new original games that can come to the system. Because it's kind of been a weird launch. There's been a couple big games, you got your Mario Kart, you got your Donkey Kong Bonanza, but like I don't know. There just hasn't been quite as much. So a lot of ports. Power Wash Sim 2, they had a trailer for that. That's coming to every system. I'm gonna pick it up on PC for sure. But I'm annoyed with them because they keep saying fall 2025. We still don't have a release date. It's middle of September almost. And we still don't have an actual release date. I want to play that game now. Like it's such a chill, relaxing game that I've put way too much time into the first game that I want to play it. I like some of the updates and enhancements, and I think they've even made a few tweaks to like being able to find when you get down to that low percentage of what do I have left to clean. Um, they have new things that are supposed to help out with that a little bit, tracking down any kind of missing dirt that you have to clean up. Oh, that was the other thing that the Acclaim showcase that I thought was sort of amusing there. I think it was called Pixel Washer or something like that. Somebody was doing like a kind of an overhead 2D, almost like a dual stick shooter pixel version of Power Wash Simulator type of deal. And that looked amusing. I wish listed that on Steam because I would give that a shot just out of sheer curiosity. It looked kind of fun, but very much looking to Power Wash 2. I did actually pick up the original Power Wash Simulator on a deep sale on the Switch, and it's neat, except the problem is the main problem I have with the Switch, be it like especially for first-person shooters or games where you have to use both analog sticks, third-person, first-person shooters, or Power Wash Simulator even, the Joy-Cons suck for ergonomics. They're not comfortable, especially again when I play a dual analog stick game. The way you kind of claw your hand on the right Joy-Con, you kind of cramp up a little bit. You get it. It doesn't feel good. Like I don't play for very long because it's not comfortable. I really wish Hori would get in gear and make a version of their Split Pad Pro controllers for the Switch 2, because the first Switch controllers are not compatible with the new system. So I really, really want a more ergonomic controller option, because boy, it's not comfortable. And you think Nintendo's always talking about, we gotta design for everybody, we gotta be for everyone, and their ergonomics are just terrible. So let's see, what else did we have at Nintendo? We had your typical couple of cozy kind of farming and like community type of games. There was a couple of those. There were a couple of games in there this time that were like, I don't even know how to say them, because there were just some really bizarre named games. I'm like, I'm not even quite sure how to pronounce that. I think one of those was kind of a little farming. I think it was like an Australian themed cozy game. And then there was another, like a cooperative 3D platformer that had a really weird name to it. I think that was available on other systems and is coming to the Switch now, but it looked kind of interesting, but I don't think I'll ever probably get around to playing that one. Tamagotchi Life. They've had other games in this series. I think that it's on the DS. There was an iOS Tamagotchi game several years ago. I remember having it on the iPad briefly. They released it, and then again, Nintendo supported it for maybe a year, and then they just pulled it, and so it's been gone for quite a while. I think I did a video for the iOS version of it, but the weird thing about these, so it's kind of like a weird social Animal Crossing type of thing. You're in a little city or a little town, but the thing with that is unlike a lot of the other Nintendo games that either just use text or that use this annoying audio gibberish, they actually use this weird, I have no clue what weird synthesizer they use to generate these voices, but they use some sort of like really robotic pitched text to speech, and so they actually speak English text. So it makes it a little bit easier, even though the text is still sort of hard to understand because of the weird speech engine that they use, whatever they're doing. You're still getting actual English spoken dialogue. So, accessibility wise, that does help, especially for low vision players. It is a weird series, though. I don't know a whole lot about it because I never really played the DS version because of the small screens. But I don't know. Maybe I'll give it a shot on the Switch too. If it's not, I'm not going to pay $80 for it. But if it's a reasonable price or goes on sale at some point, it might be an interesting diversion to try. They did mention the Mortal Kombat collection, and it is coming out to all platforms on October 30th. And you bet your money I will be there, because I will be definitely grabbing the PC version. I love digital clips and what they're doing for game preservation and gaming history, and I'm really curious to see what kind of cool information we're gonna get for this Mortal Kombat collection. I really, really hope that there's some accessibility they consider for their menus and stuff this time, especially with the big blind fan base of the Mortal Kombat series. So we'll see if they do any of that. But I'm interested in playing all the games, especially all the ones I've never played. Like I did play the Game Boy version. A friend of mine had it. It was jank as hell. But I never played the Game Gear versions and some of the other stuff that they got going in there. So I'm looking forward to that and their documentary stuff. I love what Digital Eclipse is doing for preservation and gaming history. Final Fantasy Remake, the first game of the revitalization, I suppose, of Final Fantasy VII, coming to the Switch early next year. So if you're into that and want to play that on a portable Switch too, you can next year. Hades 2, believe it or not, is hitting 1.0 later this month. I want to say around the 25th. I did get the PC early access version, so I did take a look at it on the channel shortly after that early access build came out. I was hoping that they would actually implement native accessibility into the game, seeing as how we had a lot of blind players be pretty successful with the first game, even without the Hades accessibility mod that later came out for it. But I don't know that they are. I don't know that Supergiant Games, I don't know that they're gonna natively add like menu. If they would even add menu narration, that would go a long way, because they already had really good audio design, but I don't know that they will. So maybe a PC version of Hades 2 will get a mod eventually. I don't know, but I will take a look at it when it comes out, at least the PC version, because I will own it. I own when it transforms into 1.0 release. So I know a lot of people are looking forward to that. I'm pretty curious myself. Kirby Amiibos and Kirby Air Riders. They did a Nintendo Direct of that earlier a week or two ago, and I did not watch it because I very quickly found out that they did not do English dub voiceover for that Nintendo Direct. It was all subtitled and in Japanese, and so, well, I guess I'm not watching that. Because it was just I wasn't going to be able to read all the subtitles. And that's a game where I do want to try it. It looks kind of unique. It's not quite a kart racer. It's not quite a racing game. I don't exactly quite know what it is. I never played the original GameCube version. But I think they're selling it for like 70 or 80 bucks, and I think that's a mistake. Because, we already have Mario Kart this year, and if somebody sees, even if it's not a kart racer, or even if it's not like a traditional racing game, people are going to look at it and see that it looks like a racing game, and they're like, well, Mario and Kirby, and I'm going to have to pay 70, 80 bucks for both of these? I think they would have been a lot better off 50 bucks tops, 30, 40, 50 bucks. It would be a lot easier pill to swallow. I just don't think that. Yes, I know it's one of your key franchise characters, your Marios, your Zeldas, your Metroids, your Kirbys, but whatever. I mean, we'll see. And the problem is Nintendo games don't usually go on sale very often, or if they do, they don't go get very deep discounts. So, I don't know. We'll see. I'll wait for the reviews for sure before I check that one out. Dynasty Warriors and Hyrule Warriors games. Hyrule Warriors is coming out later this year. I think it was in October or November. And I forget when the Hyrule Warriors Origins is coming out. I want to like these games. I really do. I love just running through battlefields and just slashing literally hundreds of enemies at once. But at the same time, I like, especially the actual Dynasty Warriors games. you get these giant open battlefields, and it's like, oh, go to this objective before time runs out or before this person gets killed. But they don't do a good job of making it easy, at least for me as a low vision player, to see where to go. If they had like a button, I could hit a button or click an analog stick or something to point me in the direction of the objective, or if they had a hit a button and again, draw your line on the ground, or just give me a big crazy taxi arrow at the top middle of the screen to point me where I'm supposed to go, because there is chaos happening everywhere. And it's not that I can't do the fighting, the battles, but it's that I don't know where the hell to go, and then I go in the wrong direction, and then I fail because I didn't do this objective in time, or I didn't defeat this enemy, or save an ally, or whatever it is I'm trying to do. So they've been frustrating. So we'll see. I'm sort of curious about the Hyrule Warriors, but again, I don't know. I want to love them, but I wish they would consider accessibility more in those. Dragon Quest VII, they're doing some sort of a remake or remaster or something with those. I think it's already been remade at some point or remastered. So, like I said, I'm not really into turn-based RPGs, so I don't have really much familiarity with the Dragon Quest games at all. So, if you like RPGs, though, Nintendo Switch and Switch 2 has definitely got your back. There's turn-based and real-time and isometric and strategy games, tactics games. Like you want them, that's where they are. Fatal Frame 2, a remake. It's a game. It's a series I know of, but I don't think I've ever played a Fatal Frame game. So I don't know. I mean, it looked okay. I don't know. That's all I know is it's a kind of survival horror game. There's cameras, there's ghosts and spirits and things, and with Halloween just around the corner. I don't remember when that's coming out. If that was a this year thing or a 2026 thing. Donkey Kong Bonanza DLC, that is already out as I'm recording this video. It's paid DLC. You have Donkey Kong Island, and there's some quests and stuff that you can do on that island. And then they have this sort of like a run-based mode where you're collecting fossils, and the more fossils you get, you can do each run. You can upgrade your character into different ways, and you're trying to collect as much gems and whatnot as you can. It seems like it could be kind of a fun deal. I know that some of the content they said you had to beat the main game and the main story of the game, and I have not done that yet. I'm actually in the ice world right now, the snow and ice world, and unfortunately I'm having a little bit of trouble visually with that because there's a lot of white, obviously with the snow, but there's a lot of low contrast. You have this kind of light colored sky, you have all the puffy snow, you have just a lot of things sort of blend together, and it's sort of like, especially around the edges, it's almost hard to tell where the ledges are. And so I played that a little bit, and I stopped playing Donkey Kong shortly after I got into that world, and so I need to give it another shot. But yeah, I mean, it's a fun game. I love the destruction, and I love some of the mechanics of what you can do, but some of the environments can be a little bit tricky to see, and especially there's a lot of low contrast in this snow and ice world. But Donkey Kong DLC, not a bad thing. I mean, it's definitely a very, very solid 3D platformer. Metroid Prime 4, we have a release date of December 4th of this year. And it's funny, they really didn't put much attention to the game. I don't know if they're going to have a separate Nintendo Direct for Metroid Prime before it releases. I almost hope that they do, because it's weird. Metroid is it's not their Mario or Zelda, but it's a pretty key franchise for Nintendo. But they really have not been giving Metroid Prime 4 a lot of attention or a lot of love because, they promoted a lot of the earlier Metroid games, but yeah, they haven't really talked about it all that much. But in this trailer, they did have apparently you're on a big planet, and now Samus has some kind of a it reminded me of something from Tron meets Extreme G. Remember Extreme G? That series on the I played it on the N64. I think there was on PlayStation too. But there's like this futuristic motorcycle racing game. Yeah, Samus has a motorcycle in Metroid Prime 4. So I'm curious to see what's going to go on with that. I did not expect that. They ended it with Fire Emblem, a new entry in the Fire Emblem series. Again, RPGs, it's never a series I've really gotten into. Kind of seems more tactics and stuff like that. I know a lot of people love it, so again, I think a lot of people were excited about that, but it really didn't do anything for me. They had Resident Evil. Their Resident Evil Requiem is coming to the Switch 2. And on the same day, Resident Evil 7 and 8 are also coming to the Switch 2. So you can get a lot of your first-person RE goodness. You can get that on your new Switch 2. And I saved the weirdest for last. Virtual Boy for the Switch Online service. I did not have that on my bingo card whatsoever. I did not see this coming, and I've learned a little bit more about it since the direct, and it seems like they've confirmed it's not, you can't just, they have the different systems for Switch Online, your Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Game Boy Advance, GameCube, Genesis. You can play those right on your Switch 2 screen, obviously. And I was hoping they would allow that for the Virtual Boy, but apparently you have to get one of two pieces of hardware. They haven't announced prices for them, but they have almost like a Google Cardboard version of like a headset thing that you put your Switch 2 in. And then they have this plastic shell that you lift up the top part of the Virtual Boy and you slap the Switch 2 in there. And then you close the top back up again, and then you look into it. It's literally the Virtual Boy on the stand on the legs, and so it's going to be just nice and uncomfortable as hell again. The Virtual Boy is just a weird... I'm genuinely surprised Nintendo acknowledged this, because it seems like for the past 20 years or so since the thing came out 30 years ago, they've kind of tried to forget or pretend that it didn't exist. Like, no, we never made this weird Virtual Boy thing. What are you talking about? I tried it once, very briefly. I think it was either in a Software Etc. or a GameStop at some point, and it was terrible. It was hard to see. It was uncomfortable. I mean, the controllers were weird because they had two D-pads. They had buttons and stuff, but it literally had two D-pads, one on each side. And some games use that. And like I said, I know that, the Switch, of course, the screen will be much better than the Virtual Boy screen ever was. And it'll be bigger because, well, actually, I don't know what the Virtual Boy screens, how big they were, but the image quality at least should be a lot better. But I wish I would be able to just play them on, without the 3D, because the gimmick was it wasn't really virtual. It was more like they had a 3D effect in the games. And so I guess it was fairly effective, but, again, it was this monochrome red and black screen. There were, like I said, I am curious about a couple of the games that are on there, like the 3D Tetris, the Telro Boxer, but then there was this Mario or Wario Land game that actually people say was pretty good. But the problem was it was just on Virtual Boy and it didn't make it to anywhere else. And the gimmick of that one was, it was a Wario Land game, so you had all the Wario stuff, but you could go into the regular foreground part of the level, and then you could go into like another layer that was kind of in the background. And I think one of the later Wario games did that on the Game Boy Advance. Was it Wario Land 4 or was it maybe it was one of the GameCube or Wii games where they had like a background kind of gimmick. I think some of the Mario games did that too, even like the 2D Mario games later on did some of that. But I don't know how expensive the cardboard or the plastic versions of those Virtual Boy things are going to be. Just for the absurdity, like it's sort of tempting to get it just because like I kind of just have to see this weird monstrosity. But I doubt it's going to be anything, long lasting. I'll play it for probably 5-10 minutes and go, yeah, that was weird. Okay, moving on. But yeah, they're requiring Virtual Boy, like a Virtual Boy shell hardware for it. That one surprised me. Sometimes Nintendo is just delightfully weird. I mean, you got Labo, you had that Alarmo, sometimes they just do weird stuff. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but you have to love them for just being a company that just is out there sometimes. It just does weird stuff. And that's the Nintendo presentation. And now what we've been staring at this whole video, instead of my YouTube channel, I have the Steam page up here for the Brutal Indie Games Showcase, the Brutal Indie Showcase. This is from Zlim Bratsky. I've mentioned him on the channel several times, probably in the last year or so. I've learned about a lot of retro boomer shooters from him over the last year or two, which is good, but it's bad because I keep spending so much, little money here, little money there on these little indie shooters, and they're fun, and the other thing is I don't have time to play all these games. There's still, there's a few AAA games that I may play one or two of them. But honestly, when you look at between like some of the brawlers, beat 'em ups, you look at some of the chill kind of games like Power Wash, you look at like boomer shooters, retro FPS. There's a lot of, just weird kind of hidden gems that you hear about from podcasts and things. I'm genuinely surprised. Like there's still loads of games coming out in September, in October, November, December, I'm sure. But I know at least October is going to be ridiculous. I can't even remember what they are. I think, what did he show, like 70 plus games yesterday? So it's impossible to remember them all. But yeah, it was ridiculous. There is at least two that are either coming out of early access or being released in October that I'm really looking forward to. I think there's a couple in September that are still coming out. There was a lot of them where we didn't have release dates. They just said TBA or coming soon. So who knows when those are going to be. But there was a lot of goodness. And it wasn't just all first-person shooters. It was a lot of those. But you look at this Steam page, if I scroll down here, there's a ton of stuff here. I mean, there's stuff that's already out, that has been, if you want to pick up some boomer shooters on discount, now is the time. And he did say also at the end of the stream that there's some other sale that's starting on the 15th. So if there's some boomer shooters or something that is not on sale right now, you might want to wait until the 15th because apparently some other stuff is going to be going on sale too. But you have stuff that's like, 50, 90% off. You have upcoming games. They have horror games and boomer shooters and non-first person shooter brutal games. So there was some really cool, some isometric games. There was one there. I don't remember what all these were called, but there was one that was sort of this isometric hack and slash where it was like made by, I don't know if it was made by one guy, but it was all handcrafted, and they were like, talking about how you can just, target body parts and like decapitate and chop off limbs and stuff. It actually looked pretty fun. But there was this side-scrolling couple like side-scrolling either roguelite run-based games or Metroidvania. So a lot of just a lot of stuff. I think there's a few more isometric ones, overhead games. There was one that was like, I think it had a little bit of side-scrolling in there, but then it had this 2D overhead like Grand Theft Auto 1 and 2 type of vibe, and the camera was actually at a pretty decent, like it was close enough to where I was still able to sort of see what was going on. So that one looked pretty good. But yeah, there's so much stuff here, guys. I can't go through them all. I mean, there was games that were kind of like wanting to be like Quake or like Doom. There's literally a Quake 2 mod that I have to go find that just came out yesterday, where they merge the Quake 1 story into the Quake 2. So you're fighting like Quake 1 and 2 enemies together. Unfortunately, it sounds like you only use Quake 2 weapons. They don't have any of the Quake 1 weapons in there. But it looks really good. I've seen some footage of it from a couple of different people, Zlim included. But I will definitely have to grab that and cover that on the channel. There's one game, it was called, oh God, what was it called? I had it on the tip of my tongue a second ago. It was, let me look here. Shell Soldier. This one looked cool as all hell. It's got this fear type of deal. It just looks really cool. Like look at this. Even just not full screen, but like look at that little trailer thumbnail. Like it's just solid action. Looks like it's got some slow-mo. It looks real good. We don't have a release date on that one, but that has jumped way high up on my wish list. We have Project Warlock 2 is officially out in 1.0. I have to do a video for that when I get a chance. There's also a Project Warlock 1. What was it called? Like not Lost Levels, Lost something. But there's a new like older Project Warlock type of thing, and I think the demo for that is coming out in a week or two. So we got a lot of Project Warlock stuff. I literally went through a whole bunch of demos after the event yesterday, and I looked at a lot of demos. Some of them I thought, I'll wait until the game comes out and I'll do a video for it. There were so far, I think, 2 or 3 demos that I've recorded that I will release videos for, and there's 1 or 2 more games that I may do a video for. So we may have a few brutal FPS demos. And boy, the 2 that I've recorded already, talk about a mind fuck, man. These games are weird. One of them is like this first-person shooter, but it's like food themed, and there's like fruits and power-ups, and like it's just there's particles, and y'all just have to watch the video. It's called High Fructose, and it is weird. And then there's a darker, more bizarre game that I recorded yesterday. It was for a demo. What was it called? Um, Berserkers Domain, I think it was called. It has, like, the enemies have a lot of, like, I recognize a lot of the enemy sound effects from games like Blood. I think I heard a Redneck Rampage voice in there somewhere. They had some almost like Serious Sam sound effects in there from like those kamikaze guys that are just like, "Argh!" They had those guys in there, but they were like these other enemies that were carrying big explosive barrels. And then I don't know, like I have no idea what the hell the story is or what's going on in that game. But like either you are a baby or you have a baby with you or whatever, because you're the whole time you're playing there's these baby sound effects of like this toddler that is kind of just making cooing noises. And when you do well and you start blowing the hell out of dudes and the blood is geysering everywhere, the kid's into it. He's like giggling and laughing. I'm like, what in the hell am I playing? This game is just weird. So look forward to those demo videos in the next week or so. It's something. It is definitely something else. And there, like I said, there's a couple other game demo videos that I'm gonna hopefully try to do. I'm not sure if I'm gonna record demo videos for them, but regardless, when the games do come out, I will be covering them on the channel when they do come out, either in early access or 1.0 form. So we are officially caught up again. Again, I'm not really getting any Apple stuff this year, I don't think. There's really nothing that interests me. I didn't pre-order anything. I don't think I'll be getting anything. I talked about the potential channel ideas, either going to 2 days a week, Wednesdays and Saturdays, or doing those sort of short, having maybe Mondays for more like educational tips and tricks type of videos. Let me know if you're into that, if you have any ideas or thoughts on those types of things. And I just pray, I hope to God that whatever the setup that I tweaked a couple things here for this video, and before I unlock it for everybody, I will kind of plow through it and hopefully listen to it, and I just hope the microphone is working the way it's supposed to and doesn't cut out constantly. If it does, if a word here and there, that's one thing, but I do apologize for yesterday's attempt at a bonus video because it was really bad. Unless like parts of it were fine, but parts of it were barely recognizable. So I just said, it was so bad, I can't in good conscience leave this up. So I zapped it. But assuming this attempt went well, enjoy this video for today. You may get some bonus videos, because in case these demos disappear after the Brutal Indie Showcase Steam event, if people want to try them for themselves, I want to highlight some of these while they're still available. So we'll see about some bonus videos for that. But like I said, lots of games still coming. Thank you to the developers who have reached out to me recently about a couple of accessible games that I'm going to be covering hopefully in the near future. Oh, yeah, speaking of which, a game that I covered, remember, yes, I'm glad I remembered this. Let me actually, I'm going to go to my email on my phone here, and give me 1 minute. Let's see. Playison. I don't know if that's how it's said, but remember that was that sort of AI game where like you can create your characters, you can design your scenario. I did one where it was like there was the Batman one, the Dark Knight one with Alfred and Batman, and then there was the one that I had created about like a blind character. And it worked overall pretty well. It was largely voiceover accessible, but there were some weird quirks and odd behaviors and different things to it. I literally, I think it was even after recording yesterday's bonus video, I literally got an email from that developer, and they had discovered my video, and they're like, "Oh, thank you for um, the deep dive on that. We really appreciate that." He shared the video with the team, and apparently there's a new version of the iOS app out there of Playison. So I have not gotten a chance to take a look at it yet, but they also do have a Discord. I think you can get at it through, there's a link in the game itself. Like you can go to their Discord channel. Um, and I think I have a link in the email, so I can try to remember to put that in the description. Actually, what I'll do is I'll put it in the description here, and then I will make an edit to the Playison video that I did. In the description of that video, I will put that link to the Discord in the description of that video, because they have a new iOS version. They've improved. They've taken pretty much, they said, a lot of my suggestions and ideas, and are addressing some of the problems that I encountered. And so they've made some tweaks to the interface and made it a lot more accessible. And they are open to more feedback from myself and from other people. And the reason I mentioned their Discord is because they've added a new section in their Discord, a new channel for devoted to accessibility. So if you've played it and you want it to be a little bit better, support the game, check out their Discord, and do provide accessibility feedback to them, because they are interested in it, and they want to make their game more playable for more people. And thank you to them for reaching out. It was very much a surprise, but very much appreciated as well. So that is where we're gonna end up. We're gonna end this video, and I pray that it recorded properly this time. No microphone problems, or at least minimal. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Give it a like if you did. Follow me on Twitter at BGFH79, Blue Sky at Illegally Cited, illegally-cited.com, and right here on YouTube. Until next time, I will chat with everybody again later.